how you do one thing is how you do everything. I literally will teach this to everybody that comes around me because it does speak volumes. I have a new cleaner that's on board, and I've taught this to him right away to understand that, like, if there's something on the ground, you pick it up. Don't wait till like, oh, I'll come back to it later. It makes a difference to get things done now. When it comes to being proactive, right? Being proactive in your business, it saves money down the road. Andy Frisilla was famous for always telling his staff to wipe the piss off the toilet seat. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Welcome to the Onsite podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
What's up? We are back, episode 25, and today we have my good friend Justin Mondor with the Brickhouse Gym and Gymstar Apparel. I'm super excited to jump into this conversation with Justin. A little bit different conversation today. Justin is a good friend of mine. He's been by my side through a lot of different things through life. He is an entrepreneur. He has a community invested, mindseted individual, and I'm super excited to jump into this. Thank you so much, Justin, for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So, Justin, now, I gave you a little bit of an intro on who you are and what you do, but let's tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're a part of.
Yeah, for sure. Justin Mondor. I'm born and raised Regina, Saskatchewan, and recently I've been diving deep into the fitness business. I've got an apparel line that I've been doing in Canada here for 18 years on an e-commerce and retail store, and then over the last 6.5 years we've been doing a physical location known as Brickhouse Gym that I've proudly lifted up to be one of Saskatchewan's best gyms, and then we've been awarded many times by the public for being as good as we say we are.
Awesome, man. Well, he's not really putting the emphasis behind how much energy and how much pride he puts with his gym. For somebody that has a great attention to detail with construction, I can tell you right now that, the attention to detail that he puts inside of his gym. He just moved into this new location. He was, on a very popular road that actually has been under construction for the past, it seems like 17 years. But I think they're wrapping that up. But he moved to a new location, much bigger location. What's the total square footage of your new gym location?
The new one's 12,000 square feet. It's funny, as a construction guy, our old one was technically 10,000, but, by the time you slice out all the staircases, pillars, and dead space, I think we only really had like 6,200. So we've literally doubled the space. Makes it a lot more convenient and comfortable, and allowed us to have a little more fun with the space and kind of build out whatever we see fit.
Yeah, his 12,000 square foot facility has some of the best equipment. And why I wanted to have Justin on today was because Justin has, again, supported me through a lot of the business adventure that I've been on, but also just his attention to detail and his pride that he takes in giving his clients this standalone, one-of-a-kind experience, I think really trends very well alongside a contractor, because a really good contractor takes great pride in their work and wants to deliver this exceptional product. And what Justin is really trying to do, it's different, because most gyms are, they're just trying to get numbers. It's all about numbers, get people in the door, don't give a shit about your equipment, don't give a shit about your facility, don't give a shit about your air. And every day I see this guy over the past, how long you been in the new location? Sorry?
New location's been 18 months, I think.
Yeah, 18 months. So in the past 18 months, he has moved into this space very quickly, got it set up, running, and then continuously every week he is always incorporating new equipment, new products, new things to give the client this unique experience. And he doesn't need to do that because his gym is already good enough. Like when he first moved in, it was already good. It was already exponentially better than every other gym in the city. But yet he continues to invest in his client's experience. And I think it's just, it really aligns with contractors when, they spend all of their time, and the good ones anyway, they spend so much time, energy, and resource in trying to create a good experience for their clients. And, I thought this would be a great conversation. So I'm super excited to have you here today, Justin, to dive into a little bit of the gym, because you asked me earlier today, you're like, what are we going to be talking about? And it's like, dude, I just want to gas you up, on the hard work that you put in, that I see every day. We talk very frequently. Most mostly entrepreneurial. I know that I need to get my ass in the gym more frequently. And, you remind me about that in a manner I think that's respectful because, like, again, Justin and I have been talking for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. And he knows that I have an inconsistency with going to the gym. And so, he's always trying to encourage me to come there in non aggressive manner. It's just like, yo, man, let's go for a workout here or there and try to make it work when I can. But, I really respect the grind that he puts in with his gym. And so, Justin, I want you to tell us, in the last 18 months, from your perspective, what are some of the things that you've done inside of your gym and why did you do them for your clients? So connected to what did you do and why did you do it for your customer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of forward-facing things that are very obvious to the naked eye, things that I would always appreciate, and it's just observations of other gyms. I mean, even the lighting color, the fact that we've chosen a light color that kind of resembles the sunlight. It's more a soothing environment to be in than a sterile white fluorescent or like the hyper white LED, and that's, nobody would ever really notice that unless you go from space to space, and you're like comparing ourselves with a big box gym and it looks like an operating room at some of those places, where ours is more like it's like you're in a sunroom, and then there's some accent lighting around our mirrors. All our mirrors are built out on a 2-inch standout so that we were able to edge light all the mirrors with color changing LEDs, and that's just to add ambiance. When you buy a brand new Ford F-150 and it comes with the ambient lighting to light up your floor any color you want, it's just kind of a cool factor. Does that make you have a better workout? Well, maybe not, but it makes you appreciate the space you're in a little bit. It makes you maybe more enjoyable to come there. And then there's some things that people can't see, like our front lounge area runs a Casper air purification system so that any air that comes through our front entrance or people come in through our front entrance, the air it basically continually gets scrubbed. And then throughout the gym, we've gone with what's called a mini split ductless air conditioning system, but it's not just an air conditioning system. When you run a ductless split like that, they can be run for different operations, such as dehumidifying, I should say, and just running circulation. So in an environment like right now, it's like 2 degrees here in Saskatchewan. We're running our ductless splits right now just because it keeps the humidity down. Humidity in a gym can cause a lot of issues that most people don't even know about. When you run a traditional rooftop unit in any kind of commercial space, yeah, they'll keep your building cool, but if you're exercising in a gym, it builds up humidity, which then builds up mold, which means more chances that your members are either going to get sick, or it's just an uncomfortable feeling to be in a sweaty kind of box that's not being dehumidified properly, because a rooftop unit, they're going to cut out, I think, at about minus 5 degrees Celsius on the outside. So then they're not going to be able to be run in that kind of intermediate zone. And it's a typical thing that we see in gyms during spring and fall. I know our old space ran a traditional rooftop style, and it was horrible. The windows were always, getting condensation on them because it's just such a wet air. Those are kind of some of the things. We run reverse osmosis units, commercial grade reverse osmosis units on all of our drinking water, and also through our ice maker, so that we have clear drinking water. Somebody that's extremely health conscious like myself, I do not drink tap water. I don't care where I go, I will not drink tap water. I don't feel good, it makes me sick, so I just don't do it. So I give that kind of experience from my members. But pouring water out of a tap, you're not going to know that unless you know that and you're a member here. And anything from like when we were moving our gym, to tell you one thing, it really sucks to move a gym. Everything is really heavy and you come apart, or you got to move it with people that are strong enough to move, a 1,000-pound piece of metal that is also very awkward and large. So when we moved it, we also took the opportunity to fix anything that we didn't like. We built up bathrooms that are all private independent bathrooms instead of a community bathroom where you have, one guy changing in a locker right there, and then you have the toilet literally right there. It makes kind of a very uncomfortable spot. So we have, separate rooms for everything. And then saying that too, I mean, we put a thicker rubber floor in. Our other space, I think it had like a 3 mil rubber floor that was glued down. It felt very hard. You almost couldn't tell the difference between the 3 mils and the bare concrete, making it harder to walk on. So here we did I think it's an 8 mil rubber tile that's not glued down, so that if we have any incidents or whatever, a tile can be easily replaced, and it is a lot softer to walk on and more comfortable to be in. Things like that, not taking the cheaper route. We have a turf space that's 15 feet wide wide by 62 feet long, and it's a high grade turf. It was one of the best turfs money can buy, meaning it's very durable, it doesn't move around, it's thick, and it feels like, the professional grade, football stadium turf versus just a green rug that some of the gyms put down.
So when I asked you to answer this question, I want everyone to think about this. When I asked him to answer this question, he talked about all of these other things that are surrounding the equipment in the gym. He hasn't even touched on the equipment. And I know that he's got some of the best of the best of the best equipment, that he continues to get better and better equipment each and every day. And most of us, me specifically, I would think that, the equipment would be a focal point. But Justin looks at it like, all of these other things that most people probably take for granted. And the similarity to that and contractors, it really exists, because there's a lot of things that contractors do that are, business owners, contractors doesn't really matter, business owners do, that are designed specifically to create a better experience for the client, other than the end result, which is, the equipment in this scenario gives you a great result at the end of the day. Does the water thing or the air circulation, all those things give you an exact result? A small percentage, right? But the main product, he still hasn't announced or talked about. In my mind, it would be the main product. And I think that that's just admirable of him to really, understand that it's that scientific when you're trying to create, a standalone experience, that all of this thought, all of this energy, and all of this money and time is invested in really creating a standalone experience on a bunch of items that most people don't even recognize are so methodically planned out. So continue with your, sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to point that out, because everyone would have been like, oh, we got XYZ, and he leaned into, we got water and air and every other thing. So no, continue on. Tell us a little bit more about your gym.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the thing is like, it's the minutia of the details I find that really makes us stand out. It's like a secret sauce that makes it hard to copy. So that's kind of why I dive into some of the, more unique things. Mm-hmm. Like, speaking of air, I mean, we had literally a 4 times more powerful sucker for air in the bathrooms installed, because sometimes gym guys are kind of smelly when they use the bathroom. So instead of instead of your standard one duct, small venting system that maybe pulls 80 CFM, we've got a super powered 260 CFM fan in every single bathroom. And again, you diving into things, and I'm ignoring the topic of equipment, but yeah, equipment, it's kind of I've always had a knack for math and physics, and the equipment that we've selected always has basically the opportunity to change its physics. And there's not many brands around the world that can actually say that they're going to change your physics. And the reason why does that matter? Why would you want to be able to change the physics on your exercise? If you can physically load your muscle in physically different ranges, you can basically create a different result. If we have one member that says, I just want to be stronger and I don't want to be too bulky, you can basically change the physics on some of our machines to create that. Or vice versa, where somebody just wants to aesthetically have a larger chest or arms, you can change the physics on the machines to do that. There's literally not another gym in all of Regina that has that availability. And we have 21 machines that do that. And that's a pretty substantial point. And part of the reason is it's just really freaking expensive. It'd be like the difference of, buying, I'll use a tool analogy, it'd be like the difference of buying a real Ryobi fucking cordless drill compared to buying the Milwaukee. Some people look at it as a drill, but actually, if you want the better product, it's going to cost a lot more. But circling back to that, some of the equipment we have is just extremely robust. A lot of our stuff is American made. When you get stuff made in the States, they can typically make it thicker. Whereas when they build it overseas and they know that they're actually having to ship the stuff, they build it of a lighter gauge steel, which over the years can bend, twist, and change the outcome for the member that's maybe sitting on it and doesn't realize that a piece of equipment is crooked because it's been bent over the years. So if you invest a little bit more, and I don't mean by a little bit more, I'm talking some of this equipment costs 4 to 5 times more than your standard gym equipment. And that's a long-term investment, because this stuff will also last me probably 15 to 20 years. And then we take meticulous care over it. I was actually talking with another gym owner over text the other day, and he said he found a new oil to use on his equipment. And I'm not going to discredit what he found was maybe useful, but he was talking about using a wet machine oil to lubricate bearings on equipment. The problem with that is members touch a lot of things. So when you're using a wet oil, that wet oil is going to transfer to people's clothing or their hands and can get all over the place. Next thing you know, you're going to have members complaining, hey, why do I have these oil spots all over my clothes? Not an ideal situation. So I actually buy a food grade silicone dry spray for all my equipment. It costs a lot more to buy it, but it works really good. It lasts a long time, keeps the machines from squeaking, and it doesn't get my members all oily. So you want to dive into the super deep kind of things, right? Most people just wouldn't think of that. They would run and either grab a can of WD-40 or use some kind of whatever oil to lubricate, not thinking of the end result. You know, there was one quote I come across probably a few weeks ago. It was talking about a home builder and how this home builder would take an entire year to build one home. I think about that a lot myself when I built one gym, one brick house. I mean, I want this gym to stand for a really long time. And how do I do that? I literally look at every screw, every nail, every board I put down, every piece of floor I put down as, will this last through the year, or is this going to last me 10 years? And when I make improvements in the gym, being pieces of equipment or choices about how members are going to enjoy the environment, it's whether how long that's going to last and is it the most optimal choice possible. So I'm kind of making an analogy here based on your space of you having a lot of contractors watching this, and they're going to get it. You know, if they can say they want to build a house that's going to last 100 years, you definitely know what it's going to take to build a house that's going to last 100 years, right?
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month. But every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
You know, that really stands out to me is there are so many specific things that you hyper focus on, you know, with your business that ultimately creates a better product, better experience for the client. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs skip those steps. You know, they're skipping the oil, they're looking at the numbers. And that's one of the things that I really admire about you is that it's always been focused on the client's overall experience, even those little micro things that they don't notice. You know, we're usually making corrections in a reactive mindset with our clients' problems, right? You're making proactive steps along the way to give your clients just this all around better experience. And I think that there are so many people that even go to the gym or that are considering going to the gym that take a lot of that stuff for granted because they don't realize what they're actually getting with their membership. And I just think it's awesome that you continue to innovate yourself and innovate your products and your experience for your customers because it's dying, right? I noticed that a lot of different businesses make their decisions based on the data, money. It's always money driven. And that is a great way to run a business. But I also think that you can run a business based on an experience and understand that, you know, if I implement these additional steps along the way and make these additional investments along the way, I will generate, you know, a longer, more successful business because my clients will have a better experience. And so you're really focused on something from a different perspective, I believe. And I think that really sets you apart from a lot of other gyms in town. And the reason I really wanted to get you on is because like this is an entrepreneurial spirit that a lot of us have to really understand. You know, when we're trying to acquire clients, when we're trying to service clients, we really have to truly focus on, you know, are we creating a result for our customer? You know, are we, and Justin is creating several different results for his customers. Their clothes that they're investing in. Gym clothing is not expensive. Justin's also the owner of Gymstar Apparel, and so he also is selling clothing that he knows that these people are buying. And why would they want to wreck their clothing? You know, another business owner would probably say, hey, little stain here and there, would maybe go a long way to them buying more clothes and then selling more product. But instead, Justin's trying to get them to preserve the investments and their investment in building themselves. And so I love what you're doing. I think it's really awesome. And I just want to gas you up a little bit and say, you know what, it's really inspiring to watch you build your gym. I remember how quickly you moved everything in there and how quickly you, from when you were down to when you were back up. And I just thought it was fucking amazing. I was just like, man, like, what was the total weight? Because it's a big facility. And, I think a bunch of members helped you move. There was a bunch of different people that were there to help you move into this new facility. I was away, conveniently, or not conveniently, however you want to look at it. But what was the weight? Do you know how much weight you had to move for equipment?
I mean, I could only guess. We did the move in a kind of a non-traditional way. Actually, funny thing is the ex-landlord was trying to put some stops on us from getting a moving company to move us. So we ran into a few roadblocks, but we got creative. I rented 5 58-foot tractor trailers. Basically, we used Kyle's transport to basically just be the truck. So we got basically our members, and we had a truck driver and 5 trailers. Luckily, we didn't have to go very far. But I mean, it was probably in the, hundreds of thousands of pounds. Our members stepped up and volunteered to help out, made a kind of an exciting time out of it. We were able to basically entirely empty the old space in a day and a half. And then within 4 days, we were back to working out in the new space. So, I mean, the show of support was almost brings a tear to my eye to think about, how much effort that went, And yeah, I've been talking for years. I mean, we originally knew about each other for a long time, I think, but then we kind of probably broke the ice when we met in a BNI meeting. You and I are both not in BNI anymore, and that's, that's progress, right? BNI is a great stepping stone for people to start out, but it's not a forever point. I literally have like a sorted folder on my phone of literally 5 people that I call in my inner circle, and you're one of them. I mean,
appreciate that.
Those are people that I, if I'm stuck or I need to bounce an incredibly challenging idea off of. I mean, Brandon, you're one of those guys that's in that phone on that list. It's how I keep organized too. I mean, I have, basically folders of, people, friends list or gym buddy list, or like, again, I have that list of 5 people that I call my inner circle. And I mean, it's just having that support system to like lean on somebody that we can kind of go back and forth. And it's very reciprocal. I mean, you come to me with a problem, I come to you a problem. We can kind of put our heads together, usually figure out solutions or great ideas, and we're off and running. That's what it's all about. I mean, to go anywhere in life these days as a business owner and be like an island, it's not going to happen. I mean, you got to also reach out and see who's in your tribe and make sure that you keep them part of your tribe. But it also has to be a very reciprocal relationship, right?
No, I remember there was a couple times where, I was just in a bit of a weird headspace, and BNI is great. So let's just talk about BNI for a second. I think that Dean invited me. Dean was somebody who worked with both of Justin and I, and maybe still works with Justin. Dean worked with both of us and encouraged me to come to BNI, to my first meeting. And prior to this, I had done a little bit of public speaking just with some nonprofit stuff. And so I was kind of comfortable speaking, but not as comfortable as I thought I was. And so in BNI, if you're not familiar with it, it's a bunch of entrepreneurs, generally newer businesses or businesses that are in positions where they want to grow and generate more leads. And so you go to this meeting, and every member in there and the visitors get to go up and usually speak for anywhere between 20 to 50 seconds promoting their business. You're basically judged on your pitch, and it's kind of like your little elevator pitch. And so it really allowed me to hyper focus. I remember there was, this one instance, this skit. I don't know if you came up with it, but me and Justin were security guards. And so we had to kind of walk in with our arms crossed. And, Justin always has these creative presentations, and a lot of his were very intentional. And that's the other thing that I want to really mention to you is that, you really taught me about putting more intention behind, the execution, similar to how you're doing your gym. And so, but anyway, so we're there in BNI. We're doing these presentations. We're growing, getting more confident. Our relationship is growing, and our friendship is expanding. But this guy would call me at the most random fucking times when I might have been in the darkest place possible. Just really major imposter syndrome on is this the right shit that we're doing? questioning yourself. And he would always just check in to make sure you're good, inspire you a little bit. And there's a lot of times where, you pulled me out of some dark shit. I'm not really a demonist, negative person. And it wasn't like that at all. It was just a small amount of, hey, maybe I'm questioning some of the things that we're doing. And he would always be there to support me. And I really appreciate that friendship and that inner circle. And, my inner circle has tightened up over the last couple of years and changed, as I coach contractors all across North America. I've got educators from all across North America. And then I've got close friends that, people like Justin that are in my life. And so, I really appreciate, a lot of the things that you've done for me, a lot of our conversations and some of our workouts that we've had together. I think that you're growing a great business. So now enough about that. We don't want people crying in the background or, getting sad or teary eyed. Justin, you're a family man, right? You've got a wife or your girlfriend. Yeah. You guys work together in the same space. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. My partner, Chantel, we've been together for 18 years, through thick and thin, life challenges, losses in family, things like that. And we're also partners together. I mean, in most cases, you hear some horror stories about partners, but we very much complement each other on a lot of things. I think partners, we kind of fluked it that like the things she's good at, I'm not good at, and the things I'm good at, she's not good at. So it's very synergistic right now. Like she's at the office working on our website, right? Got an eye for detail. She is very good to be able to curate a good shopping experience for our customers, which some days it's just about having the right imagery and the right text that speaks to what the products are about, but those details do matter. We can't have somebody buying a t-shirt, for example, and they're expecting maybe a tight fit and suddenly they get a triple oversized fit, so it sounds minuscule, but much like our water and our air, it's just as important to make sure that we convey those experiences, especially in Canada, where e-commerce shipping is not cheap. So the idea is to always to make sure the clients get the right product they wanted the first time. And then by chance, if they miss it, then we have a conversation, because we can usually check on most orders for the fact of like size and consistency. I can't have a guy buying a tight fitting shirt in a large, but also buying a super baggy pant in a large. It just doesn't line up. Mm-hmm. So we have for patterns, we can make corrections. Again, making our returns as small as possible, right?
Is she the one that's decorating? Because there's always, cute little decorations in the gym, which, I think really puts a little bit of feminine energy in there, but also it's a little bit masculine as well. Justin's got the plants in the background. You can see that. And I guarantee Justin didn't put those plants there. Or did you? Did you put the plants there? No,
I did not. The way she's got all the thingies kind of set up, that's not me.
That's not you. No, that's not a guy thing. That's a girl thing. So, and I think that is great. It does speak, and the two of you are vibing off each other in the gym, and just, really both of you have that attention to detail to really give the client, that experience. My partner as well is super focused on her clients and their experience. And I think it really helps motivate you when you have somebody like that in your life. And so I think that, they always say the better half, or however they want to call it. But I think it's a promotional half, that person that's really there to kind of pick you up. It's a different inner circle. And I'm glad that you've got that, Justin, because that's definitely helping you move the business along.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Onsite podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show, and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
So we mentioned it a little bit there, but I do want to plug the Brickhouse. So this is Justin's gym. Justin, where can they find you online?
Yeah, the best place to start kind of discovering us is Instagram, brickhouse.yqr on Instagram. And it's just simply like, a lot of people, they want to see the thing. So coming to the website, you're not going to see all of the pictures right away without kind of diving in. So coming to the Instagram profile first, you'll see some videos, kind of an idea of what the community and the space is really like. And then from there, you can navigate to our link in bio to either book tours with us, or recently over summer, I actually spent about 2 months completely automating my sales process, just because, especially with new people and technology, I find that the under 40 crowd, they're very comfortable with buying a path online. online. And then from there, our system is automated where it follows up and tells somebody how to download the app onto their phone, which then gives them 24-hour access right from their phone using Bluetooth. As our front doors set up to receive Bluetooth signals, you simply just come up to the door, and as long as you're within 6 feet of the door, you can hit that Bluetooth button. It unlocks the door for you and gets you a secure access. So that was kind of one of my big projects over the summer. Like I said, it took a long time, as well as I integrated a phone chat system that's a full AI phone system. I've had a lot of people just call like super late at night and they want information about the gym. It's all self-serve. People can phone the number, check it out, ask questions. I've programmed it pretty deep and pretty much every piece of equipment that we have and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So yeah, it's just it's not necessarily to intentionally take myself out of the system, but it's to be there for the customers literally 24/7. And then, you know, if a follow-up's required, that's when I step in. I love giving gym tours and showing people really why I built this place. You know, there's a book I read probably over a decade ago. It's something about zig and zag. You know, a lot of times when your competitors are always going one direction, I was the guy, I'm going to go the other way. You know, everybody's going left, I'm going right. I'm going to see where that road takes me. And here we are today.
That's awesome, man. Well, it, again, continues to innovate 18 months into this new space. And it's a big facility. It's a lot of work. And you know, I know you weren't happy, or I know you're trying to even consider purchasing your old space, but I think getting out of that and getting into this new space, you know, there's so much more opportunity to grow. And I know that you're never ending growth there. You know, we talked a little bit about the clothing as well. So obviously, I'm sure you're aware that Justin's a bit of a serial entrepreneur inside of his own business. And, you know, he's always trying to do things, always trying to level up. And so Justin's also been a part of Gymstar Apparel, which I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about that product, where it originated from, what's your involvement with it, and just share a little bit of details about that product as well.
Yeah, so the name Gymstar actually, it originated from a few of my friends and I were having a chat. At the time we were doing bar security at one of the local clubs in town. I was an advocating gym guy back then, so I was always ordering stuff for myself, and I would do like these group buys for buddies, you know, around town, and, you know, grabbing extra items for when I was ordering. It kind of got into a space where I would always just buy extra, just do an order, buy extra. And then I was kind of known for always having like literally a trunk of clothes in the back of my truck. And, you know, even at the club, guys rip a shirt. Well, I probably had a shirt in my truck that I could sell. And then the play on the word Gym Star actually came from the word like bar star. You know, I always thought it was crazy that these guys that are like, you know, heavy drinkers, heavy partiers would literally go out every weekend. You know, they would go buy brand new clothes just to go to the club to get drunk and basically just party, right? So I thought, you know, for a guy that doesn't party, why don't we create Gym Star, where, you know, you could show up to the gym with intention, you know, much like, you know, there's apparel brands that sell contractor clothing, you know, Carhartt being probably a staple, you know. Yeah. You're not going to show up to a job site looking like trash. How you show up is how also part of what you're selling, you know. So showing up for yourself in the gym was kind of the uniform that we wanted to create. Now, we don't make the brands we sell, but we're the only premium dealer for what's known as Gasp and Better Bodies here in Canada, and the quality is just unmatched. I mean, we've been working with this brand for 18 years. It's always been flawless, has an impeccable track record of quality, you know, and we're priced very fairly. I mean, in some cases, we're cheaper than Lululemon or Under Armour, but it's just a different style. It's more unique. It's cut and sewn, which means a lot of brands that are popping up around Canada are not cut and sewn. So that means they've just purchased basically somebody else's blanks and then they print their logos on them. Gasp and Better Bodies itself is a full cut and sewn design product, which means it's cut to their specs. The materials are selected, then the logos are applied, so they cannot be copied that way. You can't go buy a replica and throw your own logo on it and call it the same. It just doesn't exist. Right. So that's a big example of kind of what we do. And then, yeah, we were like one of the first, you know, up and coming e-commerce companies in Canada a long time ago. I remember I was doing e-commerce, and whenever people, even in Regina, asked me about it, they're just kind of like dumbfounded, like, what? You're doing e-commerce in 2008? Yeah, that's what I was doing. You know, so I kind of always, you know, went we're in uncharted territories, I guess you could say, of things that people weren't doing by standard, right? It was more common just to open a retail location first and, you know, see how well it did. I did it the other way around. And then I did trade shows to also gain publicity.
If you're just listening in, you can head over to our YouTube page. You can see kind of we're scrolling through Justin's websites here, just kind of getting a tour of some of the different products with the Gymstar. And, and I think it's just incredible because not only do you have a gym, that you're spending so much time, energy, and resource. You're also running an e-commerce store, and you're also running an in-store. You also have a bit of a retail section at your gym as well. So if anybody wants to purchase any of this gear, just head over to gymstar.ca and take a look at that stuff. Do you ship all across North America?
Yeah. We don't ship into the States.
Okay.
We keep it Canada only, but we're coast to coast in Canada. Literally, like if you're on the tip of Nova Scotia or you're all the way up in Northwest Territories, wherever, up in the mountains in BC, as long as you have a P.O. box number or a physical address that we can mail to in Canada, we will mail to you. So we got it covered.
Yeah, so this clothing, I have a couple pieces myself as well. Actually, I was in Calgary and I was just going to just a big local box gym there, and I was wearing this stuff, and my girlfriend was like, "Why don't you wear this stuff more frequently?" I was like, "Because I don't go to the gym enough to wear it as frequently enough." But she's like, "Oh, okay." But it was super comfy and it got compliments on it. So, and if you're not watching this and you're listening in, definitely go to gymstar.ca and take a look at the gear on there, and you can order if you're in Canada, get that stuff shipped right to your door. Justin, this has been an awesome conversation. Is there anything else you want to share with listeners before we wrap this up?
I just want to say I'm really grateful for having your friendship. That's for sure. I mean, I'm thankful for that meeting that we finally connected in the BNI group and been friends ever since. A lot of times friends come and go, and as a 45-year-old male, some of my friends today are friends that I didn't have 15, 20 years ago, and friends I had 15, 20 years ago, sometimes they're stuck still thinking about drinking and football on the weekend. So I mean, you got to kind of surround yourself with those like-minded individuals, hence my group of inner circle. So that's kind of what I wanted to wrap up with. A lot of people see that quote in my bio there just below my name: how you do one thing is how you do everything. I literally will teach this to everybody that comes around me because it does speak volumes. I have a new cleaner that's on board, and I've taught this to him right away to understand that, like, if there's something on the ground, you pick it up. Don't wait till I'll come back to it later. It makes a difference to get things done now. When it comes to being proactive, right? Being proactive in your business, it saves money down the road. Andy Frisilla was famous for always telling his staff to wipe the piss off the toilet seat. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Well, taking action in your business or in life really will catapult you. I didn't have a lot of this when I was growing up, and like you said, like the inner circle, the friendship that changes. My friends today are much different. There's a lot less of them, and there's room for more great people just like yourself. And I like keeping things tight. I like keeping that inner circle. But the how you do one thing and is how you do everything. I really stand by that too. I share that with my son frequently. Whenever I'm trying to nudge him or bug him about getting better at something, I'll throw that comment at him, and I think in his mind he's telling me to fuck off. But at the same time, we all understand that there are things that we could do better, and so when we have an opportunity to take action to move forward more intentionally, I think we should do so. And I really appreciate this conversation. It's been inspiring, exciting, long overdue, and excited to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much, Justin. And again, one last plug: if you want to lock in some clothing, if you're listening from anywhere from coast to coast across Canada, and you want to lock in on some clothing, go to www.gymstar.ca and get yourself some gear. Appreciate you, Justin. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that concludes this episode of the Onsite Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month. Okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.